So when we talk about equitable growth, what does that mean to you, given the state of your constituency?
So thank you also. It's a pleasure to be here both with Mike and Ryan. You know, one of the things that when I ran for office, in particular this district that was plagued with corruption, voter fraud, all of those things, I knew that I had to come in being the biggest cheerleader and looking at the assets that the district had, right? So when we talk about 41% poverty, you know, for me, those data sets are resilient people. During COVID, we saw them as essential workers, right? They were the ones that kept schools open. They were the ones that kept, you know, the stores open. And folks all working hard to provide for a better outcome for their children and for their families. So I came to council with an agenda that I couldn't come and just ask for more resources. I needed to add resources to the table, and I needed to make sure that the resources, when people were making investments in districts like mine, that people understood that the city is better when the 7th is better. The city is better when we're taking care of our most vulnerable. And, you know, pre-pandemic, we started doing a lot of work in the poverty space. Council came up with narrowing the gap. We knew there were all these inequities. COVID taught us that people die when there's inequities, but it also forced us, right, to do things we wouldn't have done before. I'm chair of education, I'm chair of appropriations. If you'd have said to me we were gonna do a one-to-one technology with young people in the school district of Philadelphia pre-COVID, I would have said no. COVID forced us there, right? And it forced us to create Philly Connect. And Comcast stood up to the plate, and we were able to get technology. So one of the things that I've learned is when there's political will, when there's accountability tables, one of the things that council has worked really strongly with, and we've been doing around poverty, we have the ability, and pre-COVID, we were talking about this with the Poverty Fund and the work we're doing with United Way. There's 100,000 people in that threshold that we could have moved up, right? Some of it is benefits access. Philadelphia leaves $400 million on the table for benefits that people don't access. Some of it is upskilling people. Some of it is just improving the quality of jobs that Paul Levy always articulates. So I look at all of this as full of opportunities. What I like about the discussion now around equity is I don't have to be apologetic about it. We're a segregated city. We know what the data sets are. So we're going to own them, but what are we going to do about them? And so now I get to be in a space where I can say to folks, investments downtown are hugely important. Our downtown is vital, but investment in people in neighborhoods is also an investment, right? That's not an expense. And how we view, right? Every time we're going to make strategic investments in neighborhoods and people, it's sort of like, and look, we're going through the budget process now. Can we really afford that? And now we can have a discussion of we can't afford not to do that. And how do you move to investment in people and move people in that poverty space? And when people live with fixed incomes, how do they do it in a dignified way? And housing and all of those things become an important part of that.